Welcome to our second session for the students who are listening to us in Hyderabad, Karnal, then we had in Cochin, Khanna, not Karnal, and also Ahmedabad. The other places we are waiting for the calls, and I'm sure the students are sitting at other places also, but let us know how many students are there, please. I thank all the regional directors who have called us and informed us the number of students. May I also request you to kindly get the feedback back pro forma filled so that we know how much students are able to understand. Now with that, the next session what we are going to have till 4:15 is on general psychology and educational psychology. In general psychology, you must have had quite a number of sessions, and you also know that you've got a practical component in our revised program. And practical component must be giving you a lot of interest, because you come to know certain tests by administering it on yourself and also administering it on your peer group. So with this, we thought of talking today of dynamics of behavior, and under that we thought we'll take motivation, frustration, conflict, emotions and stress, depending upon how much time permits. But before that, I thought it is important that once more we redefine what is psychology and other things. But let me introduce you to expert Mrs. Ravinder Kalra, who is with us here. She has been doing the counseling and has been writing the content area with us on psychology and psychiatric nursing, a very senior teacher at RAK College of Nursing. We are very pleased to have you, Mrs. Kalra, with us, because I find that you relate with the students so very well that they enjoy listening to you. So let's talk of what is psychology. Maybe you start with it and then I take over.
Psychology, if we see to the term, it is derived from two terms, psyche and logos. Psyche means soul, and later on this was modified as mind, and logos is study of. So psychology means study of mind. If we see to the definition.
Yes, Hyderabad. Yes, Hyderabad.
Hello?
Yes?
Hello?
Yes, please.
Madam, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I am Major Radha speaking from IGNOU, Hyderabad, ma'am.
Okay, how are you?
Ma'am, we wanted to know about regarding the exam of Nursing Foundation, ma'am.
Yes?
Previously the questions were given.
Yes?
Ma'am, it was in one multiple choice, ma'am. Now at present last question paper was given that instead of giving the one answer, choice was given so many, ma'am.
We don't have a
now
multiple choice question.
So only the answer to be written one by one, madam.
I'm not very clear what you are saying, but what I understand is that... Yes?
Hello?
Yes, I'm listening. Yes, please.
Ma'am, the questions answers either or can be given, madam.
Either or, how can you give? I'm not able to get clear, because we had the question paper where we had long answer question and we had the multiple choice question also, because we give a mix and match of the questions so that you are able to apply the knowledge of your nursing while writing the answers. So we have never given any time only the MCQs. I do not know from where you got this impression that MCQs were given last time. We don't give only MC. Yes? Have I understood you clearly? See, you are saying the question paper, or you are talking of the assignments? Are you talking of the question papers?
Question paper, ma'am.
The question paper. But you are a first year student now. How have you appeared in the question? Are you a student of last year?
Class they didn't get, madam.
Sorry?
Hello?
Yes?
Hello?
Please make it clear what you want. Please make it clear what you want to ask.
Hello.
Yes?
Ma'am, I'm Padmaja speaking, ma'am.
Yes, Padmaja.
I have one doubt. Regarding last year question paper.
Yes?
You have given that answer all questions, ma'am.
Okay.
If it is possible, please arrange any choice, ma'am.
Okay. See, now, see,
and one more is...
Yes.
We want objective type of questions, ma'am.
Okay. Now,
and so that we can read all the book and we get more
cover the area. Okay. Now, I got your point. One is that you are saying that there is no choice given in the question paper. The philosophy is that students should be knowing everything. Why should they get a choice? We have argued this quite a number of times, that whether the choice should be given or not. It is understood that if it is a professional program, the choice should be avoided because students should be able to answer all the content area. Number two is that you are saying that the objective type question paper should be given because student can read quite a lot. But see, even with the essential question, the students are asking for choice. That means they want to choose and read. In the objective type questions, it is felt that there is lot of guesswork which goes on into it, and that is why we cannot have those kind of question in nursing, because in nursing we want the knowledge to be applied by the students. They should be able to apply the knowledge even answering the question in 3 hours. That's the basic reason we give subjective type question, but we try to maintain the objectivity of marks as much as possible. Because if there are 3 parts like define a particular thing, write the causes of a particular thing, then we divide the marks so that the objectivity of marking is there by the evaluator. But objective type question paper we cannot give in nursing because we want to know the skill of one is writing and also skill of application of the knowledge in the clinical area. So that's the reason we don't want to give the objective type. So far you are saying of a choice, we had been arguing on it to give choice, not to give choice, and it is always felt that why shouldn't the students at the professional degree level know everything? So why give the choice? I'll try to argue for the students' sake again when there is a moderation. If they agree, I would be very happy to satisfy my students, but we had been doing these efforts. I hope I have clarified your point, though you are not satisfied with it, but these are the principles of construction of test, and I am sure you teachers in Hyderabad are very, very up to date, and you know the significance of test construction, and I am sure you would be able to appreciate when we talk of test construction and application in nursing. Thank you so much. So let's go and define nursing. Psychology.
Yeah, we were talking about the definition of psychology.
Yes.
Psychology is the
Yes, please. Yes, Lucknow.
Hello.
Yes, Lucknow.
Hello.
Yes,
I am calling from Lucknow Regional Center.
Yes.
And we have 6 students of the BSc Nursing.
Good.
And one student, Rekha Shukla, would like to ask a question from the experts.
Sure. Yes, Rekha.
Hello.
Yes, Rekha.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, there is a question from maternal nursing.
Yes.
Ma'am, if there is a cord presentation and it is diagnosed, how we prevent it to be cord prolapse?
Okay.
If we know that there is cord presentation, then ma'am, what is the management to prevent the cord prolapse?
The experts have just gone out. They will be back. But what knowledge I have from there, Mrs. Kalra and me, we can share. If there is a cord presentation, to prevent it a cord plus, ensure that the membrane is not ruptured. Because if membrane ruptures, then there will be a prolapse and then it will be very difficult. But if there is a cord presentation and membrane is not ruptured, and that means there is no cord prolapse, and do not do any per vaginal examination repeatedly, which can cause the cord prolapse, rupture of the membrane leading to cord prolapse. Is there anything else you remember?
Plus the positions which they were discussing about.
Very important. Knee chest position can be given. Raise the foot and side. And also ensure that the oxygen is given and the patient is either in Trendelenburg or knee chest position, and the other measures which were talked. So these are the way to manage the mother so that the cord pushes back. You know, when the Trendelenburg position is given or knee chest position is given, you know that the position is changed and the cord pushes back, and then you can have the safe delivery of the mother. Mrs. Sarkar is here. We have answered the question of the student who has asked us from the maternal nursing that if there is a cord presentation, to prevent it leading to cord prolapse. So we answered that ensure that the membrane is not ruptured. even through per vagina, so that the cord prolapse doesn't occur, and the position may be given, and Trendelenburg or Nietzsche's position. Is there anything else to manage? These are the one? Yes. Okay. Okay, Mrs. Sarkar is endorsing that we have the knowledge of maternal nursing, and these are the management things which we can do. I hope, Rekha, you are satisfied. Let us go and define what is psychology, Mrs. Kalra.
Yeah. Psychology is the scientific study of behavior. Its subject matter includes behavioral processes that are observable, like the gestures, the speech, the psychological changes, and processes that can only be inferred, like thoughts. We cannot observe the thoughts, but we can infer the thoughts and dreams. This is the definition of psychology.
Okay. Now, when we talk about the dynamics of behavior, we have many things under the dynamics. Dynamic is a change which occurs in the individual's behavior. And when we talk about the dynamics, yes, please. Yes, Ludhiana.
Hello.
Yes, Ludhiana.
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, I am Santosh.
Yes, please. From the regional
In the
center.
management of PPH,
Yes.
ma'am, there was one point.
Uh-huh.
What is the fiddling of uterus?
Okay. I wish you had asked the question when the experts were there, because we have a session on psychology now. But what is the, they were saying when we are managing, should we fiddle with the uterus or not, I think that's one of the precaution to be taken, not to fiddle with the uterus at all. And that's the guidance given to even the ANMs and to the TBAs, that not to fiddle with the uterus at all. That yes, Mrs. Geeta Radhan is also here, that if there is PPH, should they fiddle with the uterus or not? No. The answer is same, that we should not fiddle with the uterus, because that's going to cause more bleeding, and that's why it should be avoided. Yes, only in case of atonic, a gentle massaging may be done, otherwise it should not be fiddled at all. Hope, Santosh, we have satisfied you. Let us go to what is yes, please.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, please. Okay. Let's go to the next definition, motivation.
If we see to the word motivation, it means to move, to energize, or to activate. Motive is a state within an organism which energizes and directs its behavior towards a particular goal. Now, whenever we are behaving in a particular manner, or all our behavior, there is some motive, there is some drive which makes us to behave in a particular way, and that is what is motivation. If we see to the motivation cycle, we have some certain needs. Now, whenever there is a need, there is a drive to do instrumental behavior. That means we are motivated to do some behavior. This leads to achievement of the goal. Once the goal is achieved, a person gets relief. Once the relief is there, that remains, the person is in state of equilibrium, but the state of equilibrium is there for some time. Again you have some other need, and then again the motivation cycle is moving. That means one motive being satisfied doesn't mean that the person does not have any other motivation. As soon as a person is satisfied, the person's motivation is achieved, person is relieved, there is another motive which comes. Maybe like right now you have the motivation that you want to do BSc nursing. As soon as you have achieved, you might like that, no, this is not sufficient, I must go in for now post-graduation also. Though there are a lot of motives which keep coming in between.
We are sorry we are not able to open our floppy. So you have the diagram on page number 39. If you can have a look, which Mrs. Kalra is mentioning, that there is a need. Would you like to repeat, please?
Yeah, we have that there is a need which drives a person to instrumental behavior. The person's goal is achieved, and this leads to relief.
Yeah,
there's a need which drives a person to instrumental behavior, which leads to achievement of goal, and once the goal is achieved, the person is getting the relief. But then after some time there's another need which arises, and this cycle keeps moving on.
And also when we find that a person is motivated to act, there is a certain characteristic of a motivated behavior. For example, one of the very important characteristic is energy mobilization.
Yeah.
The person gets vigorous. For example, if you want to do your post-basic BSc nursing and want to complete in 3 years, in spite of your responsibility at home, being a very active and alert nurse in the clinical area, you keep on working very hard, and still you keep on doing your assignments on time, do your clinical on time, and you are able to attend all the classes. Now this is that you are energized towards that motivated behavior. And this is what is one of the very important characteristics. What are some of the other characteristics?
Yeah, another characteristic is persistence. That means an organism cannot leave its work without achieving the goal of its motive. That means till the time you have been able to do the BSc, you cannot leave that goal, and you keep persistence. That motive is persistently present in a person. Then is variability. Motive has a goal, hence it continuously changes with the view of attainment of goal. That means that there is variation in the way you want to achieve. Maybe at particular time you are trying to complete your assignment, then after some time you are trying to achieve your goal through other means, and there is a variability in the way you want to achieve your motive. Then there is restlessness for attainment of the goal. In spite of your busy schedule with the duties and with other work at home and other things, you are very restless that I must complete my BSc in time. There is restlessness to attain the goal that you have set. Then there is extension of restlessness after the attainment of goal. Once maybe first year you have cleared, you feel relieved. Then you start preparing for second year, and then again start preparing for third year. Once your goals are being achieved, you get relief. These are some of the components of it.
And I think the extension only comes once that attainment of goal is there, restlessness gets relieved, and one is satisfied. Of course, as you said very rightly in the beginning, that one motive is or one desire is satisfied, the other desire comes that now let me do masters in nursing, let me do PhD. And so this motivation cycle continues, as you mentioned, but the characteristics are very typical of satisfying one particular motive. Now, there are various theories to learn about motivation, and these theories are developed or derived because of the way the individual behaves. And one of the important theories is drive theory. Would you like to explain, please?
Drive theory says that, if we see to it that there is some equilibrium that the person, if we all want to have a state of homeostasis and equilibrium, that we want to all remain stable. If there is, if you are hypoglycemic, or the person is having dehydration, person feels thirsty. If a person is hypoglycemic, you have the drive of hunger, and you want to eat the food, and you want to achieve that state of equilibrium where you are neither dehydrated nor you are in hypoglycemic state. So this is that our behavior is motivated, or our behavior is as a result of to achieve the state of equilibrium. But once this is achieved, there are this also theory is being criticized. The criticism is that all our behavior is not to achieve the homeostasis or the state of equilibrium. Many times, maybe you were very comfortable working as staff nurses or assistant charges, ANS in the hospital, but still you wanted to do BSc, though you knew that your household work is going to get disturbed, your duties are going to get disturbed, but still you had the desire to do that. So it is not always that we want to be in the state of homeostasis or equilibrium. Many times our drives make us to go into the state of disequilibrium. If you want to go in for certain tracking, you want to go in to achieve something which you had in dreams, that yes, I want to achieve something, that is going to disturb your equilibrium status, but still people have that desire. So this is a criticism for this theory. That is why this theory is not completely accepted, but partly. Then there is another theory, that is incentive theory. That means organism operates or behaves in environment because of reinforcement. That once we get the reinforcement, we behave in a particular way. Now the criticism here of this theory is that rewards and punishments are components of behavior. That means they motivate us to behave rather than being the drives for behavior. Another theory which is there, which I think most of you must be familiar with, and many times in many places you might have heard of, is Maslow's theory or Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Here
they can also see the diagram on the book outside, or also on page number 41. Okay, just open your page number 41. If you have the book with you, you can see the diagram, please.
Now if we see to this, there are certain basic needs of an individual which have to be met. Now once the basic needs are met, then only the person goes to achieve the higher goals. Like there is a need, the basic needs, like we need air, we need oxygen, we need water, we need food, we need rest. Now these are certain physiological needs which have to be satisfied. Once these needs are satisfied, then a person looks for higher need, like safety needs, where there is need for security, comfort, tranquility, freedom from fear. You want to, once you are not hungry, your thirst is satisfied, you are getting enough oxygen, you are comfortable, then you start looking for that. No, I would also like to go to a place which is secured. I'd like to have job security. I'd like to have certain place to stay where I am safe.
So once the biological needs are satisfied and the individual feels safe, then comes, let me get attached to somebody. That feeling of attachment is there. You want to belong to somebody. Need of belongingness. I belong to the nursing group. I belong to IGNOU as a student. I mean, they want to affiliate, to love some people and to be loved, So that's the need, as Mrs. Kalra mentioned, that the basic needs have to be satisfied. Food, hunger, shelter, clothing, these have to be satisfied first. Once these needs are satisfied, we go to the safety. One looks for a place and a safety around and security around. It may be a job security, as you mentioned, or may it be safety from the physical or any traumatic things which are happening in the country around, and then you look for attachment. Then of course esteem. You look for esteem, you do certain things, where you develop the confidence, and you also want that the people should develop confidence in you and trust in you, sense of worth, sense of competence. Those kind of feelings starts coming, and you respect others and others respect you, and you start forming a self-image and self-concept about yourself. Then of course is a cognitive needs. See, you can understand that we are going from a very basic, Maslow has described very clearly the basic needs first. That is why when patient comes in the ward, it's very important to meet his basic needs. What is his basic need is that he says that he is feeling very sick. His temperature is very high. That is a physiological need. Now that his temperature is down, he is feeling very weak. So needs some food to eat. So once the physiological needs are over, one thinks of the higher needs. And the next higher need is of course need of knowledge. Need to understand what is happening. Analyzing those needs, understanding that this is happening because of this factor. So that is cognitive needs. And then of course aesthetic needs. You look for nature, you look for beauty, you look for peace around, you look for spirituality, things like that, where you find now you have a time to admire these things because your all the basic needs are satisfied, and you understand these kind of values or aesthetic things around because you have developed that kind of a knowledge. Then of course self-actualization. That is the meaningful goals now you have. That what we call it as, you have understood that this is what I need. I have a good job. I can now work this. My students can learn this. But now what more? This is not enough. I should now look after some community people who need me. That's a selfless kind of a service, and that's what I should do. That's what is called as self-actualization, knowing of what else you can do to help the community, to help others, or to help people. Transcendence is of course spiritual need for cosmic identification, is a very, very high need. It depends upon very few people who are able to attain that kind of need, but a bit of it everybody is able to have. Why are we talking about the Maslow's needs? Importance is that, no, Mrs. Kalra?
Because if suppose as nurses, when we are looking after the patients, or when we look after our needs also, for understanding the human nature, why a particular person is behaving in a particular manner, if we understand about these needs, this will help us to make it more clear, even to identify the needs of the patient or the client who is coming to us. That if a person is there who has not got food for many days, you provide him with all comfort, you provide him with all comfortable living and other things, but unless his need of that hunger is being satisfied, the person cannot think of the higher things. You give a lot of respect to the person, but if the person is hungry, the person is not going to like all these things which a person gets. Similarly, when the patient comes to us, our needs that we look after, they have to start from the basic thing, and then we must look in for the higher needs of the individual.
What is the cognitive approach then?
Yeah, one thing that this theory is being criticized.
Yes.
The criticism for this theory is that our world is full of violence, and there is a lot of evil and destruction which is taking place. Now, what makes a person to behave like this? Like if we take the very recent example of the train blast in Mumbai. Now that what have been the motives behind it? If we see to this theory, it does not fit in anywhere, because those lot of violence that we keep hearing about, they are not according to the Maslow's hierarchy needs. Yeah.
But I think let's take the best out of these theories and see that how we can help an individual or how we can help to a patient.
Yeah. We were talking about the cognitive approach.
Yes.
This says that a human motivation does not come from objective realities, but the interpretation of objective realities. That means it comes more from how do I interpret the situation. Not that what actually is the situation, but how people interpret the situation. That is how the human behavior is being motivated. Now, if we see to the classification of motives, the motives are classified as biological motives and social motives. Under biological motives, you've got all the basic motives like hunger. This is one of the basic need, that one's hunger need must be
Ahmedabad. Yes, Ahmedabad.
Hello.
Yes, please. Hello. Yes, please.
हाँ ma'am.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I'm a first year student from Ahmedabad IGNOU.
Yes.
And we are total 10 students.
Yes.
And we had listened all the telecommunication.
Okay. Okay. Is there any question? I think there is a connection got seized. So let's go to the.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Huh.
What is there any question?
Total 10 students are there.
Yes.
And our Madam Malini ma'am also is with us.
Okay, good. Do you have any question?
And we had. Hello.
Yes, I'm listening.
Hello.
Yes, I'm listening. Yes, please.
At present, we have no any questions. Sir.
Okay. So let's talk. Thank you so much for calling. Now let's talk about the motives.
Yeah, we were talking about the biological motives. That biological motives are triggered by departure from balanced physiological conditions of the body. We were talking about the homeostasis, that in case a person goes into hypoglycemia, person is dehydrated. These all things, they lead to certain motives. Hunger is one of the motive that we talk about under biological motive. When the stomach is empty, there are certain contractions which are sensed and we start feeling hungry and we eat food. Similarly, there is another motive which is called thirst motive. That is again which leads to which is a biological motive. Drinking water relieves that, and these are the basic biological motives which have to be satisfied. Another motive is like sexual motive. Sexual motive, like it depends on the physiological and social condition. Sex hormones play important role in its arousal. Then we have another set of motives like social motive. Social motives are complex motive states. They are called social because of being learned in social group. They arise because once we live in society, there are certain motives which generate out of it, the expectations which the family has from children, the parents and other things, they all lead to social motives. Under this, we have got achievement motivation. Achievement motivation is that people are in strong need of this. We all want to achieve something. You have joined BSc nursing, you want to achieve certain degree. You have job, you have got another thing, but still you want to achieve something more in life. Once these are accomplished, that leads to another task oriented motives. Then we have got another motivation like affiliation motive. Affiliation motive is like to seek presence or interaction of others. Liking for those with whom we interact frequently. In affiliation, we want to become close to the people. Maybe the people with whom we are close, like recently the group that you have formed in your BSc nursing, you get close to it. That is being feeling a part of it. Then we also have affiliation towards people who agree with us or who have desirable qualities. We want to be close to the people who become our role models. So this is affiliation motivation.
The other important is power.
Yeah.
Now, I would like you to explain about the power also and differentiate how affiliation and power would be different.
Affiliation is that we want to become close to the people. Intimacy, that feeling of being intimate to others is affiliation motivation. Another one, that is power motivation. Social power is the ability or capacity of a person to produce intended effects on behavior or emotion of other person. That we want that, yes, I should be able to have control on my own staff. I should be able to have control on my own family. This is the power of motivation which motivates a person to behave in certain way. The goal of power motivation are that we are able to influence, we are able to control, we should be able to persuade, lead, charm others and to enhance one's own reputation in eyes of other people. That yes, I do have powers, so I have a better status. That is power motivation.
That's right. So I think you have understood what is a motive, and we talked about the biological motives, social motives. There are certain cultural influences also on the motivation, and I think culture plays a very important role, because everybody said that how this bomb blast has occurred, and Mumbai is back, people are so strong, but still because culture of working is there, culture of taking everything with poisonous, internalizing the sorrows and sympathizing with each other might have helped. So what are some of the other examples we can say cultural influences on the motivation?
If we see to the cultural influences, our culture greatly affects our motives. Like in certain cultures, there are certain things which are given more importance. Say example that in our setup, we give lot of importance to family, the way we rear up our children. It is not like in Western cultures where after they become adults, then the parents might not bother about children. Now here, even if the parents are grown up, the children are grown up, they might become parents and they might have grown up children. Still, the type of attachment the parents have towards the children, towards the grown up children also, that might not be same as in Western culture. So there is lot of cultural influence. Certain culture plays lot of influence on that. You should not be showing your emotions so openly. You should hide your emotions. Whereas in certain cultures, there is open expression of whatever feelings a person has.
I think it's very important to learn motivation, especially in nursing, because in nursing, whatever activities the students are doing have to be motivated to do that activity. Finding a patient who is very restless, who is hypoxic, is the knowledge and motivation to go and help that particular patient. What are the other situations where we can explain that how important it is for a nurse to learn about motivation?
Whenever we have patients to look after or the clients to look after, we always talk about assessment part, assessing what are the needs of the patient and then planning our nursing care. Now, once we assess the needs, that is, we must start from whether they are the basic needs like we talked about in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the biological needs are met or not. If we know about what is the hierarchy of needs, it becomes easy that we help a person attain the basic needs and then only start looking for the higher needs. In case a person's lower needs are not met, if you try to provide all the security, all safety, or give a lot of respect to the person, but the basic needs are not being met. The person is hypoxic, the person is restless, the person is in hypoglycemia, or the person is in dehydration. Now those all things are not going to help unless we are able to meet the basic needs of individuals. Then there are also like patients who are terminally ill. What are their motives? It becomes very important that what are their needs that we understand. Knowledge about motivation is going to help you that what is driving their behavior, what are their needs, and how do we satisfy their needs.
That's right. I think if we take an example of patient, a very good example is given in their book about, in your print material about, motivation of a terminally ill patient. And I think the example is self-explanatory that how the terminally ill gets motivated to live or not get motivated to live. And a terminally ill person who is suffering from a disease for a very long time and who is suffering from a chronic illness where the family is also involved, normally is not motivated. And often a language is used, not interested to live. The family members and the patient says not interested to live, or himmat chhod diya, lost the courage to fight with the sickness, and that kind of comment is given. But it is motivation to live. The person is not interested to live. The person does not want to, trouble the relatives, burden the family with the financial factors, and also ensure that everybody is at peace once he is no more there or she is no more there. And probably that is the reason the person doesn't have a motivation to live. Some people who have a motivation to live struggle. They struggle even during the death time and try to become restless, try to talk something, try to get the best and cooperate, so that they are able to live. Now these kind of things are very important to observe, that how much a person wants to, has a motivation towards life. But by and large, if a nurse is able to give psychological interventions to the patient, I'm sure the motivation would be high to live.
That is why we say that it is important that as nurses we encourage the person to verbalize, not that we keep anticipating that I know that I've looked after a lot of the patients who have been terminally ill, I know how they're going to react, so I think these are the needs and I keep them same for all the patients. Different patients are going to react differently to the different situations. So it's important that we help the person to verbalize the thing, we help the person to say what he feels and then prepare the person accordingly.
Now, I think we do not have much time to start the topic on frustration, because we had very good number of students attending, and we received the calls from Ludhiana, from Lucknow, Khanna, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Cochin, and I hope the other center also, we have students sitting over there. I also request the feedback may be filled up and given. I'm little sorry to say to my students who are sitting in all the centers that due to some technical difficulty at our center here, we are not able to have our next session. I have the experts with me, and I'm disappointed that the experts have done a lot of hard work to talk about quality and standards in nursing. And we were very lucky to have these two experts who are already there in the studio. But due to this technical difficulty, I'm really very frustrated not to continue the topic. And I am feeling very disheartened at this particular technical difficulty, what I am going through as a nursing program coordinator. I apologize you on behalf of the IGNOU School of Health Sciences Director and myself and the nursing faculty for not having continued the important session which we had planned. With that, I would like to thank Mrs. Ravinder Kalra. I'm sorry you could not finish, but students had very interesting question on the maternal nursing. I wish they had asked the question, but they must have been so engaged in listening to the experts that they forgot to ask the questions, but that's what they have the right to intervene. But keep interacting with us on the fax, on the email, so that we can answer your questions. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you to all the regional directors who have interacted with us. Thank you to our program in charge, Pratima Mali, for being with the students and helping them out. Thanks a lot to everybody. Thank you.